Good day, dear students, and welcome back to our class. Now, we had started with this essay called Snapshot of a Dog, and we had seen that the story or this essay is about this bull terrier named Rex. And he was named Rex by his three masters, all teenage boys. And the story is told to us in hindsight, almost 25 years after this dog has died. And one of the masters is writing this essay or the story, and he tells us about Rex. Now, what do we know about Rex besides the fact that he's a bull terrier? Is that Rex is a very noble dog. There's a certain sort of dignity about him, and this dignity can be noticed even when he does the most extravagant tasks that his masters make him do. So one of that was they would throw this wooden rail outside their compound wall, and it was a very long, almost 10 feet long wooden rail. And they would tell Rex to go out and get that wooden rail inside the gate, okay, the back gate that they had. And the trick here was that the gate was only 4 feet wide, whereas that wooden rail was almost 10 feet wide, right? And but even then Rex would be able to carry it, and he found a way to get it in, and he got a lot of satisfaction from doing or from undertaking tasks such as these, which were difficult, but he would still do it. He would never give up. We know that besides that, he is besides being such a noble dog, and yes, since I forgot to mention this, even while carrying out these kind of tasks, no matter how silly they were, he would not lose his dignity. He would not seem silly as a dog. There was a certain respect that he had, and he carried himself in a certain way. So he just stood out as a dog, okay, and people could see it around him, okay. So a certain nobility about him. Yeah, he was a very strong dog. He could lift almost about everything with his jaws. And he was a very good fighter because he came from a line of fighters. But we are told that the surprising bit about this dog is he never started a fight. Okay, and if at all he was dragged into a fight, he would never catch the neck of the other dog or the other animal. He would just catch the ear of the other dog. Okay, and we are told that in dog language, you can say in dog behavior, when a dog holds onto the ear of the other dog, he is trying to teach the other dog a lesson. So that is how Rex was. That is how he behaved. All right. And I think the last thing that we looked at yesterday was this fight that had taken place on a street, and where Rex had caught onto the ear of the other, a snarly, strange dog. It was a street dog. Sorry, not a strange dog, a street dog, but a very violent one. So Rex holds onto the ear of the other dog, and he does not let go of that ear till it is like late night, and everybody around, the people around are all gathered, and they're trying to stop the two of them, but the fight continues until the end. They call the fire department, and they make them use their water hose, the pipe, and the hose is directed towards Rex, and finally Rex lets go of the other dog, and that is how the fight comes to an end. Okay, that is where we had stopped. Okay, we also know that as a bull terrier, he is a very determined dog. So whatever he wants to do, he will definitely do it. Okay, and plus he is a very strong dog, determined as well as a strong dog. Okay, let's continue from line number 63, I think. Yeah, from here. The story of that Homeric fight got all around town, and some of our relatives looked upon the incident as a blot on the family name. They insisted that we get rid of Rex, but we were very happy with him, and nobody could have made us give him up. We would have left town with him first, along any road there was to go. It would have been different perhaps if he had ever started fights or looked for trouble. But he had a gentle disposition. He never bit a person in the 10 strenuous years that he lived, nor ever growled at anyone except prowlers. Okay, so we are told that after that whole incident where the fire department had to be called in order to let Rex go of the other dog, other relatives that they have, family members, told them that you should get rid of this dog because he's bad for the family reputation. What will people say? That this dog doesn't know how to behave. He gets the fire department involved. But the family is determined. They love the dog so much, and for obvious reasons, that this dog is extraordinary, right? So they say that we could have left that particular town and gone elsewhere, but we would never leave our dog. We would have just taken him and go anywhere. But he was not going, we were not letting go of him. He was their dog after, right? And why do they love the dog so much? What is it about this dog, about Rex, that they support so much? We are told that he had a very gentle disposition. Okay, and it is never that he ever started the fights and looked for trouble. So that is the beauty of it. The reason why they supported him is because they knew that this dog doesn't start fights. He's a good fighter, no doubt. He's a determined fighter, no doubt. But he doesn't start it. It's always the other dog that starts it. Okay, and he had a very gentle disposition, a very gentle behavior. He wasn't violent. We've already seen this, but here we're saying it again. He never bit a person in the 10 strenuous years that he lived. Strenuous means, you have it there, difficult year, tiring years, right? So for 10 years that he was alive, so that means he died when he was 10 years old, we are told that he did not bit a single person. And most of us will agree that this is quite extraordinary. Dogs, especially dogs that are natural born fighters, they're very violent, and there is at least one incident where they've bitten a human being. But Rex had never even once beaten another human being, nor ever growled at anyone except Prowler. So he would not even make that scary noise at any other dog, not any other dog, any other human being except for Prowler. So people that were like thieves, people who would come around very shadily, only and then he would growl. But other than that, he was not a violent dog. He was not one of those dogs that you should get scared of. He killed cats, that is true, but quickly and neatly and without a special malice, the way men kill certain animals. So the only thing that he killed and went after were cats. But it was not out of violence or malice. A malice is some sort of an evil intention. It's not out of, he was purposely doing it. He was really trying to kill it for fun or something like that. He just killed it, without looking at it as a fun activity. It was just like a skill that he had. So he liked to kill cats. Okay, just the way certain men try to kill animals. So just like you kill it like a sport, human beings have the habit. Like a sport, we kill animals sometimes. Okay, not for fun or not even for. It's really nothing much to it, just a sport. In the same way he used to kill cats, Rex, right? That was the only thing he did that we could never cure him of doing. So that was the only thing they could not stop him from doing. He continued to kill cats. He never killed or even chased a squirrel. I don't know why. He had his own philosophy about such things. He never ran barking after wagons or automobiles. He didn't seem to see the idea in pursuing something you couldn't catch or something you couldn't do anything with, even if you did catch it. A wagon was one of those things he couldn't tug along with his mighty jaws, and he knew it. Wagons, therefore, were not a part of his world. So, like other dogs, he somehow never went catching squirrels or killing squirrels. The only thing he killed was cats. Okay, and so he would never kill squirrels. He would not even run after them. Most dogs run after wagons or automobiles. You must have seen them. Whenever they see any cars or big trucks or anything, they start running after them. But Rex never did any of it. He never even once ran after wagons or automobiles. And the author here explains that it is because, or perhaps it is because, Rex did not know, what is the purpose of running after things like that, which you can't do anything with. Even if you run after the wagon, you can't lift the wagon and play with it. So what's the point of running after it? Okay, so it's perhaps that, but you can't really understand why he never did it, why he never ran after wagons or automobiles or after squirrels like most other dogs. He just was different. Then, swimming was his favorite recreation. He loved to swim. That is his favorite way of relaxing and having fun. The first time he ever saw a body of water, that is at Elim Creek, he trotted nervously along the steep bank for a while, fell to barking wildly, and finally plunged in from a height of 8 feet or more. Okay, so the first time he went, or first time he saw a body of water, he was pretty nervous. He took a few minutes to absorb the vastness of it, and the newness of it. But after some time, he barked, and he from a height of about 8 feet, he jumped right into the water. He plunged into it, and jumped right into the water. And that experience was so divine, we are told, I shall always remember that shining virgin dive, that first dive, that 8 feet high dive that Rex had. He swam upstream and back just for the pleasure of it. Like a man. It was fun to see him battle upstream against a still current, struggling and growling every foot of the way. So, just like human beings enjoy having a bath in a stream, a creek is basically a stream, right? Or even at the beach. In the same way, this dog had so much of fun having a bath or swimming in that creek, in that stream, okay? And he was trying to battle the still current that was in that stream. He had as much fun in the water as any person I have known. So this is exactly what I was saying. The way he enjoyed the water. And after that, it was impossible to stop him because that was his favorite recreation, we are told. You didn't have to throw a stick in the water to get him to go in. Of course, he would bring back a stick to you if you did throw one in. He would even have brought back a piano if he had thrown one in. So he's just trying to say that sometimes there are these dogs, they don't like swimming at all. So what their masters do is they take a stick and they'll throw it purposely in the water so that the dog goes in the water in just to get the stick back, right? So that is a trick some masters use, but it was not the case with Rex. Rex on his own would go into the water, okay, because he loved to swim so much, right? And of course, even if he had to throw something, he would go and get it back. And here he exaggerates a little bit and he says, or perhaps not, he's perhaps not exaggerating, but the author says even if he had to throw a piano and tell Rex to get it, Rex would be able to get it. And here he tells us another similar incident, we are told, that reminds me of the night way after midnight when he went a roving in the light of the moon and brought back a small chest of drawers that he found somewhere. How far from the house nobody ever knew. Since it was Rex, it could easily have been half a mile. There were no drawers in the chest when he got it home, and it wasn't a good one. He hadn't taken it out of somebody's house. It was just an old cheap piece that somebody had abandoned on a trash heap. Still, it was something he wanted, probably because it presented a nice problem in transportation. It tested his mettle. We first knew about his achievement when deep in the night we heard him trying to get the chest up onto the porch. It sounded as if 2 or 3 people were trying to tear the house down. We came downstairs and turned on the porch light. Rex was on the top step trying to pull the thing up, but it had caught somehow and he was just holding his own. I suppose he would have held his own till dawn if we hadn't helped him. Okay, so this is another interesting incident. What happens is one night when it was almost after midnight, it was quite dark and everybody was asleep. Rex goes out of the house and he goes and he finds this chest of drawers. Okay, a chest of drawers is basically a wooden structure with multiple drawers. But in this case, the drawers had been removed, so only the skeletal structure of the chest remained. So he gets that, and you can imagine it must be pretty heavy. But because Rex is a very strong dog, he can lift it up. So he manages to, probably drag it with his jaws or probably lift it, we are not sure, but he brings it over to his house. Okay, and what happens is this chest, of course, the writer makes it very clear to us that the chest did not belong to anybody because it did not look very new. It looked very old, and also it did not have any drawers in it, so nobody uses a chest like that. So it's not possible that Rex went into someone's house and dragged it out. It was discarded somewhere, thrown somewhere, and he gets it from that trash heap, from that garbage area. He gets the chest, right? And why he would have done it? Why would have Rex brought that chest back, although he can't really play with it? Was the author says is probably because Rex wanted to test his own strength, his mettle, whether he's able to lift it up and carry it. So probably because of that, we are not really sure why Rex decided to carry it all the way to his own house. Okay, now everything would have been fine if it was not for the steps of the porch. Now the porch is like a balcony area outside the house, right? So Rex had to bring the chest inside the house. For that he has to bring it up the porch steps. Okay, so there, while bringing it up, it got stuck. Maybe one part of it got stuck on some part of the steps. We're not really sure, but it got stuck, and he could not really pull it up. So he tries his level best, and he does not give up, because remember, he's a very determined dog. He does not give up. So he keeps pulling, but there's so much of noise created that the members of the house get up and they see him with it, and they realize what he's up to. Okay, but what is important here is that Rex was on the top step trying to pull the thing up, that is the chest up, but it had caught somehow, it was stuck somehow, and he was just holding his own. That means he was not giving up. He did not give up on his position. Wherever he was, he continued from there to pull the chest onto the porch and take it wherever he wanted to take it. So he could have easily given up right there and stopped it and gone back to sleep, but no, he just was such a determined dog. And we're told, I suppose he would have held his own till dawn if we hadn't helped him. He was such a determined dog that he would have continued, biting at the chest and trying to pull it up till morning if these members had not gotten up and helped him carry the chest inside. Now, we are told the next day we carted the chest miles away and threw it out. If he had thrown it out in a nearby alley, he would have brought it home again as a small token of his integrity in such matters. After all, he had been taught to carry heavy wooden objects about, and he was proud of his prowess. So the next day the master decided we have to get rid of the chest because this dog is not going to leave it. Okay, and while getting rid of it, they make sure that they get rid of it and they throw it somewhere very far where Rex will never be able to reach it. Because if not, then Rex would have gone back and brought it back to the house, because it's a symbol of his strength. Him being able to carry this wooden chest shows that he's strong enough, and he was proud of that strength. So out of that, that pride that he has, he would have probably held on to that chest. Okay, but the master said it's better that we get rid of it completely. Then we are told, I'm glad Rex never saw a trained police dog jump. He was an amateur jumper himself, but the most daring and tenacious I have ever seen. He would take on any fence we pointed out to him. 6 feet was easy for him, and he could do 8 by making a tremendous leap and hauling himself over finally by his paws, grunting and straining. We'll continue the other part. So what we are told is that now we're talking about Rex as a jumper. Can he jump up a fence, or not, a compound wall? Can he jump it up or not? So we are told that he was an amateur jumper, and an amateur means like a beginner, a learner, right? He's not a skilled or an expert jumper. Amateur is a nice word. We use it not just for dogs, but we can use it as an amateur musician, an amateur painter, an amateur photographer. So many different words. It's a very nice word that you can make use of, right? So here we are told he was an amateur jumper, just a beginner, but the most daring and tenacious I've ever seen. But the author is telling us that he's the most daring one. That means he was not scared of the compound wall. He would just dare to climb regardless of his own height and the height of the compound wall or the fence. Okay, and tenacious again is an inner strength that he had. So he forget his physical strength, his mental strength was so strong that that was amazing about him as a jumper. He would take on any fence we pointed out to him. So they would tell him, okay, jump this fence. He would jump it. He would not look at his own size, like I told you, not his own size or the size of the fence. 6 feet was easy for him. So 6 feet high fence, which is pretty high, was easy for him. He was able to jump, and he could do 8 by making a tremendous leap and hauling himself over finally by his paws. Okay, so he would have to still move far away for 8 feet high fences. You would have to move far away and make a tremendous leap. That means a very high jump, and manage to haul himself, is to almost throw himself to the other side of the fence with the help of his paws. Okay, so it was a little difficult, but he would still try his different tricks and manage to do it. Grunting and straining, so all the while making all kinds of noises and straining himself, but he would not give up, and he would complete the feat. He would jump across the other side of the fence. But we are told, but he lived and died without knowing that 12 and 16-foot walls were too much for him. So sadly enough, we're talking about the death of the dog, and we're told that Rex died before he realized that 12 and 16 feet walls were too high for him. Okay. Frequently, after letting him try to go over one for a while, we would have to carry him home. He would never have given up trying. So there were a few times when they came across very high walls, which are almost 12 feet high or 16 feet high, and they would tell Rex, okay, come and jump it. And you know, Rex, he's a very tenacious dog, a very daring dog, and a very determined dog. So he would try to climb it, and if he would not reach up, then he'll go back again and try again. Okay, and he keep doing this, but never once stop. So what they would have to do is they would have to lift him and take him back home, because he himself would never give up trying. Okay, that is how determined this dog was. Then we are told there was in his world no such thing as the impossible. Even death could not beat him down. Now this is the most tragic part of this essay. He died, it is true, but only, as one of his admirers said, after straight arming the death angel for more than an hour. Late one afternoon, he wandered home too slowly and too uncertainly to be the Rex that had trotted briskly homeward up our avenue for 10 years. I think we all knew when he came through the gate that he was dying. He had apparently taken a terrible beating, probably from the owner of some dog that he had got into a fight with. His head and body were scarred. His heavy collar, with the teeth marks of many a battle on it, was an battle on it was awry. Some of the big brass studs in it were sprung loose from the leather. He licked at our hands and staggering fell, but got up again. We could see that he was looking for someone. One of his 3 masters was not at home. He did not get home for an hour. During that hour, the bull terrier fought against death as he had fought against the cold, strong current of Elim Creek, as he had fought to climb 12-foot walls. When the person he was waiting for did come through the gate, whistling, ceasing to whistle, Rex walked a few wobbly paces towards him, touched his hand with his muzzle, and fell down again. This time he did not get up. And that is how Rex dies. So very, very sad, and it brings back so many memories of my own pets and how they passed away. But first, let's look at the story. Now, we are told that for Rex, there was nothing like impossible. He was so determined as a dog, and that was his personality. You know, you could not tell him that, no, Rex, you cannot do this. Okay, even death could not beat him. Now, and this is actually true. I know from my own experiences that animals and sometimes human beings also are so strong. Their determination and their willpower is so strong. So in this case, we are told that even death could not beat him down. Rex fought death for 1 full hour. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot, I can tell you. We are told he died, it is true, but only, as one of his admirers said, after straight arming the death angel for more than an hour. Straight arming means keeping at a distance. So a death angel, for Hindus, you would call him Yamraj. And we believe that, okay, when it's time for someone to die, Yamraj will come and will take the soul and go away. Like that, that is what it would be. An equivalent for Yamraj would be a death angel coming, to take somebody's soul away because it's time for that person to die. So the death angel was there, but Rex managed to stop it for 1 full hour. Late one afternoon, he wandered home too slowly and too uncertainly to be the Rex that had trotted briskly homeward up our avenue for 10 years. So, the way that he walked into the compound wall that particular afternoon, they could tell that he's walking very slowly and he's walking very shakily. It is not his usual style of walking. He usually trots around very briskly, very quickly, short and quick steps. That is how he walks, okay, or rather he trots, okay. So they find that very unusual, his trot in the first place. I think we all knew when he came through the gate that he was dying. So it was so surprising and so shocking, this changed way of moving, that they knew that, I think that he's going to die. He had apparently taken a terrible beating, probably from the owner of some dog that he had got into a fight with. Now, this is how sad it is. You could tell that he was attacked, and he was attacked by a human being, and probably that man hit him with an object, a sharp object or something like that, because otherwise the dog would not have died. So it was a terrible beating. So the dog was in pain, which is why he could not walk as quickly as he would walk otherwise. So apparently he had taken a terrible beating, probably from the owner of some dog that he had got into a fight with. His head and body were scarred. So there were scar marks or injury marks all over his head and his body. Some of it were from old fights, but some of it was the more recent beating that he got. His heavy collar with the teeth marks of many a battle on it was awry. Some of the big brass studs in it was sprung loose from the leather. So he had a dog collar with a few brass studs on it. It was a leather collar, but it had these nice brass studs on it. So it looked nice. But that particular day, that particular the collar, so to say, that looked very odd. And some of the brass studs which are into it that had come out. So you could imagine how badly this human being had beaten this dog. Okay. Then we're told he licked at our hands and staggering fell but got up. So the two brothers were there. He comes and he licks their hands, and while he's licking, he staggers. He shakes and he falls down, but he gets up again. We could see that he was looking for someone. Now this is the thing, why does he get up? Although he's so weak and he can feel his own life leaving him, he still gets up and he's looking around. Okay, then it becomes very clear to them, one of the three masters was not at home. So only two of the brothers were at home. The third brother had gone out somewhere. So he's looking for the third brother because he really loved his three masters. He did not get home for an hour. So the third brother takes 1 hour to reach home. During that hour, that is when the bull terrier fought against death as he had fought against the cold, strong current at Alum Creek, as he had fought to climb 12-foot walls. So he uses all of his fighting abilities and all of his determination and tenacity to fight death for 1 full hour. Why does he want to fight death? Not for his own self, but because he wants to see his master for one last time. And this is so true because, like I was telling you, I've had my own experiences with my pets. And there was this, so I've not had dogs, but I have had cats, and I continue to have cats. And one of my cats was really sick. She had undergone a surgery and she did not really recover from that surgery, right? So one morning we realized that she is quite bad, but we were not expecting her to die because she had just come out of surgery, so we were just assuming that it would be, the after effect of the surgery, that she would still make it. But that morning she didn't seem fine at all. She refused to eat, and you could tell that she was in a lot of pain. But we had to go to work and to college, and so we left home, and only my father was at home. And so that was at around maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, and we told our father, please take her again to the doctor. And we were just hoping that she'd be fine by the time we came in the evening. But somehow we reached home, I think at around I reached home at around 7, and my mother reached home a little later. The rest of us were all at home, and we could tell that our cat is not going to survive because she was in a very, very bad state. We had never seen her so weak. And any moment we felt like she's going to give up. And we were so scared because, we wanted our mother to at least see her for one last time because it was our first cat and this was a very painful moment for all of us. But we were not sure because, from morning our cat was struggling. She wanted to see all of us one last time before she died. And rightly enough, my mother came in a little late, I think at around 8:30 or so, but my cat stayed till that time. And after my mother reached home and she saw her, just about 5 minutes after that, my cat finally gave up and she passed away. And that's the reason why I feel so bad for this particular scene, because I know that animals can have that kind of a bond with their masters. They can fight death, and in this case, Rex also does it. He waits for 1 full hour because he wants to see his master for the last time. And when we're told, we continue here, we're told, when the person he was waiting for did come through the gate, whistling, ceasing to whistle, so that brother had no idea what was going on. So when he comes through the gate, he sees the dog. He was whistling nicely, casually coming in. Then he sees the dog and then he stops whistling because he realizes something is very serious. And this dog has never been like that. Rex has never been so weak. So he stops whistling and he's waiting there. So Rex walks a few wobbly paces, very shaky paces because he's weak, he's almost dying, towards him, touched his hands with his muzzle. So muzzle is the nose of the dog. So with the nose, he just touches his master's hand one last time, and right there he fell down again, and this time he did not get up. So you know that Rex dies after seeing his master for the last time. And that is the essay here about Rex the dog. And the title of this essay is A Snapshot of a Dog, and I told you snapshot simply means a picture, a photograph. But you can understand that this essay itself is like a snapshot. It's a full description of this dog. It's just not the picture that is described, but the dog itself, the personality that this dog has been described. And you can tell that this was an extraordinary dog. Truly loved his masters. The masters loved him back, and that's why even 25 years after the dog has died, it brings up so many beautiful memories of that dog. So this is it for today's class. We will stop right here. Thank you.